Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Justin, and this is our next 1 o'clock session here. And sorry about that. And today, what we're going to do is talk about one of my favorite books, and one of the books that really changed a lot for me as far as how I looked at working with my clients, whether they're real estate clients, you as real estate leaders, professionals, what have you. I have found a book, and the book was by is by John Maxwell. Everyone communicates, few connect. And now I'm only going to cover really one brief topic today, but this book was extremely powerful for me, and I will have links. Should be links already. If not, I will definitely make sure after the video there are links in here to access that book, as well as some other videos that we'll reference throughout today's session. But why I like this book so much is it changed how I looked and perceived and viewed the people that I'm communicating with, looking to build not only relationships with them, but long term relationships with my clientele base. And this book changed that a lot for me. So as far as I'm concerned, these are absolute game changing type books. And this is an absolutely ideal opportunity to do what we need to do to keep clients for life. Um, there's stats out there for us as realtors and real estate professionals that essentially tell us that almost it's like 80 some percent. It changes, it varies every year, but roughly 80% of all customers would use us again, but only like 15, 16, 17% actually do. Part of it is what we do. We just don't follow up. We don't communicate. We don't continue the conversation. Where we do that, we move on to the next thing, and we lose track. There's several reasons for that, and you can pick and choose that. But what I will tell you is, even when I have forgotten to communicate with my clients, as long as I have followed some basic principles in my business, even if I have forgotten to do what I need to do as an agent on my daily job, as long as I have built this long-term foundational connection with my clients, they come back, right? They're going to give me an opportunity to make it right. They're going to give me those opportunities to do that. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. Basically, 5 key principles that I got from this book that I think will help you build those foundational, long term, lasting relationships with your clientele base. Now, for those of you out there watching right now and talking to me live, please make sure you're communicating and chatting with me at all times. I am absolutely happy to have those conversations. I love for this to be an interactive event and moving forward. For those that are hearing this as a recorded session, write any of your comments down there. I am watching them, and I will be happy to have those conversations. And also, you can always come out there and email me at any time you need to as well. And I'm getting happy to have those conversations with you. So, with that, let's talk about those 5 key principles. Well, principle number one, find common ground. I know this seems fairly obvious to us. And I think sometimes we do this, but we're not trying to create common ground here. We're just trying to find it, right? We're trying to find common interests, goals, values that we share together, right? We're not trying to be inauthentic about this conversation. We are trying to sit there and form relationships and be able to have conversations and shared values and shared interests with this. So, the reason that we want to do this is we work with people that we know, like, and trust. Well, if we know ourselves and we like ourselves and we trust ourselves, people that share same values, same principles in life, same goals, whatever it may be, they're going to be generally attracted to us, right? So if we can establish some of those, or and probably not even establish is probably not the right word, but more or less identify those commonalities, we're going to be that much closer to making that work for us as real estate professionals and with our clients. So, how do we do that? How do we find common ground? How do we make this work for us as agents with our clients, agents with our office, our brokers, our team? How do we find that commonality in our business? So first thing I want to tell you to do is, as our parents always taught us as kids, we have two ears, one mouth. Use them proportionally, right? Let's do a lot of active listening, which means we're staying focused. We are very intentional on what we're doing. We're having the conversation with them. And we're going to try to talk less, right? The whole goal of this when we're having conversations with people is going to get them to probably talk more than you do because we want to know about them. Now, you're going to have to share some of your experiences because not only do you want to build a common ground, you want them to feel that same common ground. So we're going to have to do that, but practice listening and then have a series of very good, strong um, follow-up questions. My acronym I always use for follow or for any questions in general, but this always helps me lead with follow-up questions. What I'm trying to do next is FORD, family, occupation, recreations, and dreams. And this is always a very good, easy way for me to come out and know who I'm talking to, where they are, who they are, family, what they want, what their dreams are, what they do for hobbies, right? Those kind of things that are going on. So I always like that. It helps keep things moving forward. When you do ask these questions, make sure they are open-ended questions, right? You do not want them to say yes, no, maybe, I guess, right? We don't want that. We want them to expand upon what they're doing. So it's who, what, where, how, when, right? These kind of questions, not why, or not yes or no, right? So we want to make sure we do that. Next, we want to make sure we have stories to share. So go back and look at your life and make sure you share some of those stories, what your children have done, what you did in a past life, some past experiences that may relate to that, right? Those past experiences will definitely help you. And then got to be careful with this one, but it does work. I would encourage you to get on social media, right? People use the word stalk, and I guess that's somewhat true, but I would, find out who they are. Look them on their Facebook posts, look them on Instagram, TikTok these days, right? Look on these tools and see what they're doing, see what they're sharing in life, what's going on, right? If you can identify who they are and have those conversations with them, it's going to be better. So that social media is an easy way to know who you're talking with and what their dreams, what their families like, what their occupation dreams are, right? You can see them in there a lot of times. I want to go to Hawaii. I want to do this, right? You'll see that. And then always pay attention to the nonverbal cues. It's been said many times but most communications that is done out there, 90% or more is done non-verbally, right? It's how we talk, what we do, our actions, stuff like that. Our body, our face tells a lot of stories, right? So if you're not hitting the points for them or you're missing the conversation or they're zoning out, you should be able to recognize that inside their world. Now, the last thing I will say this is all, and you will see at the end of the credits here referencing an old video, not an old video, a recent video on disc. I would also make sure, and this is true for all the other principles as well, but know their disc profile, their dominance, their influence, their stable, their compliance, their steady, their compliance. Know who they are, know how they're communicating. Some people are very direct, some people are very chatty, some people are very family group oriented, and some are very analytical in nature. Well, if you know who they are and you can tell by how they dress, how they act, their mannerisms, you can tell a lot of that. And again, reference the old video. It will definitely help you know what that is, or the old podcast, depending on how you are hearing this session. But use that because it's going to help you identify the communication styles and what you're doing. Because if you do communicate, you want to communicate in a tone they're going to hear it in. I always throw this caveat out when we're talking disc. Please, please, please make sure you are not trying to mimic them. That's inauthentic. but do try to communicate with them in the ways they want to be communicated with, right? There, while that seems semantics, that is a very significant difference in the world. I'm not a big fan of people saying mimic them. It's something that you want to talk in the tones that they like to be communicated with. So that's common ground. So that's principle number one. Principle number two, focus on others. um, this one is not always as easy, folks. This one in here can be rather challenging in nature because one of the things that we're trying to do is make them feel extremely important, right? So when we're doing this, focusing on others, making them feel valued, and we're going to talk about that next, is what we're doing. So it's got to be less about us and more about them. One of my mentors has a very common phrase, and I do like this one, and I think it fits well for this one. I don't want you to think less of yourself. I just want you to think of yourself less, right? So it's more about them, less about you. When you're doing this, that's one of the things you want to do. So shift the focus from me to we or to them and do again that active listening. Make sure you're empathizing with them, not sympathizing, but empathizing with them. Every time they start asking you questions, answer them because they want to know about you, but also make sure that you're refocusing the conversation to them. You're going to want to make sure you repeat what they say, right? So you can understand that you heard them. You want to make sure that's part of active listening. You also want to make sure that you're conveying their emotions and their energy, right? You're hearing their feelings, you're hearing their emotions that they're talking about, and demonstrate the fact that you are acknowledging what they're going through. And always respect them, right? These are our clients, these are our team, these are our allies in life. So always make sure you are present in their world and it's about them and you're trying to help them out. Another big quote I always love is I hear this from John Maxwell quite a bit. I think it was actually Teddy Roosevelt that actually said this. People don't care about what you have to say until they know how much you care about them. And this is what we're trying to do there. You want to get to know these people. You want them to understand what's going on. You want to make sure they're hearing your voice. All right. So that's two. So the first one, find common ground. Second one, it's about them. Focus on others. Three, the third value here in this session, add value to people. Well, adding value to people for me, to be completely honest with you, is I think one of the easiest things to do because as a professional, as sales folks that we are doing this, we're always trying to lead generate. We're always trying to build more clientele database, right? We're trying to grow that stuff. So hopefully we're always trying to find what we commonly know as items value. Well, this isn't a whole lot different when you're communicating, right? When we're talking to our clients, we want to know what they value. We want to be able to help them. We want to give them information. We want to help them get better. Remember, Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. What I teach most people when they're talking about dreams is when I'm asking that question, hey, what's your goals for this year? And how can I help you get there? Right? These are things we're trying to do. We're trying to have these conversations. Now, some of the ways we can add value to this is knowledge sharing, right? I can hear them ask some questions. I'm not sure how to become a realtor. And okay, so I'll share that information. I need to have this information. This is what I'm doing all the time, right? I do lots of trainings and it's mostly for sharing what I know and hoping people improve and get by that. People call me up for mentorship sessions. I do that all the time. But I'm trying to offer value and help them build resources and hopefully they find me as that trusted advisor in their life. And that's what I'm really trying to become, how to help them do that and become a resource that I can help grow them and grow wherever they're trying to go. Next, what I'm going to do is have supportive conversations, right? So I'm going to listen. Again, it's active listening all over again. What we're going to do with that is listen. We're going to empathize with them. We're going to show that we understand, encourage them, right? When you do this by offering support, you create a safe and supportive environment for effective communications and build a stronger connection. It's one of the things I've seen, is one of the quotes I have seen so many times about empathy and things like that. But it's true, right? When we offer that support, we're giving them a safe environment. They feel like they can trust us. They feel like they can have that conversation with us. They feel like we can share more and do more together. And they're going to help and give more and talk to you more and trust you more. Again, we're going for no like trust. Be that encourager. Be the person that is their cheerleader. Offer them encouragement, motivation, try to inspire them. Now, I'm going to tell you, sometimes encouragement and motivation can be a little contradictory in nature, because sometimes motivation can need to be a kick in the butt, right? So sometimes we might need to help move them forward, help them see the vision you see for them, and help move them forward. So, the reason we want to be encouraging and motivation, and take how it needs to be for you, we're trying to help build their confidence, help build that rapport, and create a positive dynamic communication. So, with that, this helps us build more of that value that we're trying to add to our clients. Now, again, we're going to want to tailor to their needs. We need to know how they want to be communicated. Again, remember we talked DISC just very briefly earlier. So we want to talk in the tone they want to be in, but we also want to talk to them in the format they want to be communicated with, which is really interesting for us in our industry. Well, because there are so many ways to be communicated to. I got the phone. I got email. I could write a letter. I could do a text message. I could do a chat through WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Telegram, right? It will probably require on our end a lot more tools in our phone or in our technology tool belt that will help us communicate, so we can communicate with our clients in our way. Now, it doesn't mean you don't send out mailers for your marketing and let them know what you're doing out there. But like, if you're going to wish a happy birthday, or you're going to wish them a happy anniversary or a happy holiday or whatever it may be, you may want to try to find the ways to communicate with them that they like to be communicated with. So that's another thing we want to keep in mind. Now, the other thing I will say with this is, you want to be consistent. Actually, we're going to pause on that for a second. The last thing we want to do is we want to help be a problem solver for them. We want to help be that ear. We can help them debug some of their problems. So if you know they're running through a challenge, try to help them find that solution, that insight. If they can't find the person they're trying to find for a job, right? Do that all the time. I actually literally just yesterday, talking at a networking event, I found a person, um, an industry professional, as an appraiser, that I had a colleague of mine reach out for. They were looking for an expert witness for a situation. I'm going to be emailing them in the next 24 hours and give them that information, that contact, because this might be useful for them, right? So because I've had the conversation, I knew what their needs were, right? I'm listening to them. Anytime I meet someone new, I'm saying, oh, here's somebody for you. I can do that, right? That active listening and keeping them in top of frame is going to be a really good solution. Now, as far as adding value, I hinted at this earlier and I paused myself because I forgot a topic. One of the things that we want to make sure is we're doing this consistently. And we're doing this in a genuine, caring way, right? We're not just trying to find things so we get business, because anytime that we're doing this from an inauthentic level, and as soon as that is discovered, you lose complete all credibility in the world. There's a very good book by Robert Cialdini, Dr. Robert Cialdini, that is called Influence. And it talks about the rules of influence, and it's got a lot of good value. And part of it is our communication. But if we're doing this from a self-satisfying way, we're going to lose instant, we're going to lose instantly our credibility. So we want to make sure that we're doing this authentically, but we want to make sure we're doing it continuously, trying to add value, essentially loving on our clients the best way we know how to do that. So that is the third principle. First principle, remember, was focus on common ground. Then we wanted to focus on them. Then we're going to try to add value, as well as now principle 4 is be clear, communicate with clarity. This can be challenging. We in sales roles love to talk, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing, except when we're talking too much and we're adding more confusion and we're adding less value, right? There's too much in there. Concise, simple language is traditionally going to be the better way of communicating with folks, right? So before we are going to communicate clearly with our folks in here, we want to think about a few things in here. One, organize your thoughts. Like if you're going to write an email or a text message, organize it. Say what you want to do. Make sure you know the key points you're trying to do. Use simple language. Be mindful of your tone, specifically if you're writing this stuff and not talking out loud, right? We all have read a text that we heard differently in our head than the writer had intended to go. So be very mindful of that tone that you are writing. Maybe you got to use emojis so people know what's going on. Always structure your messages as well. There is a thing, TLDR. TLDR. It stands for too long, didn't read. So if we're not clear, precise, structured in our letter, people are probably not going to even hear it. They're not going to read it. They're not going to listen to it, right? Even if it's a video message, probably not going to listen to it because even though it says TLDR, it could also be TLDL, too long, didn't listen, right? It's one of the things that I'm trying to do with this particular video sessions and podcasts. I'm trying to keep these very specifically under 30 minutes, somewhere between 15 to 30. I'm leaning closer to the 30 minutes because trying to add value, but trying to anyways, be very mindful of the clarity and the simple language and the intentional conversations that I'm having, right? I'm trying to make sure that when I'm doing this, you want to make sure it's going on. I would also say if you're writing, make sure you're proofreading all your stuff, or at least have someone else proofread it. That's what I do. I read it as I write it. So it always reads well, but I always have issues with that. Now, there's a lot more with this, but trying to be clear and brief on this, I'm going to leave it at that. There's probably about 10 different principles that you can for being clear and concise. But those are some of the main ones. So again, remember, common ground, think of others, active listening, be clear and concise. The last one is we want to build trust. Now, hopefully everything we have done so far is building that trust. Remember, we're looking for know, like, trust in that order. If they don't, they can't trust you if they don't like you. They can't like you if they don't know you. So we're trying to build know, like, trust. And with that, one of the things that we want to make sure we're doing in here is creating a very trust environment, right? For us real estate folks and our things in here. Thanks for coming on board, folks. I see some more come in. If we're building that trust, one of the things that we're trying to do with this is make sure that, again, it's authentic, but that they feel safe. Remember, for us real estate pros, we are helping them sell or buy their biggest investment in life. And they're not going to do that if they don't trust us, right? So those connections, those bonds will help build a better relationship, help we build stronger, more lifelong relationships. So building that trust is going to be something we really want to do. Now, how do we do that? Well, first place, be honest. Don't exaggerate. Don't have hyperboles. Don't have anything out there that you're not going to do. again, for sales, I think one of the hard ones is the exaggeration, right? So we don't want to exaggerate. We don't want to promise more than we can do. Say what we can do. It's under promise, overperform, not over promise and underperform. Form those. Don't have half truths, misleading information. We're not allowed to, anyways. As real estate professionals, we have ethics. We can't do that, but we want to be honest with things. If we can't do something, let them know. If a location is too far out to do business with them, let them know that. Let them make that decision for you, or refer, or recommend better solutions. Be honest with them. Be very transparent in what you're doing. It's okay to say, I don't know, but I'll find that answer for you. Or that's a good question. Let's see if we can answer that for you. Or I think you might be better served by working with so and so. Or here are some people I know, right? That transparency. Even what you've done in the past, your successes and failures, right? You got a listing appointment and someone wants to list it for 30% over what you have deemed as an asking value. Give them an example to say, hey, if you have had this anyways, hey, I did this one time. Here's what the consequences were. My fault for not sticking my ground. I can't do that anymore. It's not going to help anyone out. Right? You can do those things. But if you're transparent, it's going to help, right? Be consistent. So consistent means consistent follow-up, consistent communications, consistently doing things. But it also means when you say something, keep your promise, right? I'm going to have the yard sign out tomorrow morning. Make sure that yard sign's out tomorrow morning. Even if you are the one, or not the one rather, that's putting it out there. Make sure you're not promising something that can't be done. So not only is consistency about the consistent nature of communications, it's also about living up to the promises we make. Be and have strong integrity. If you think something is wrong, don't be chasing the dollar, chasing what's right. It's going to work for you in the long run. Building that trust, they're going to like you for it. They're always going to respect you for it. And if they don't, that's a different conversation for them, not for you. For us also, when we're doing things and we are bound by this in our ethics and our license law, confidentiality is extremely important. And that does, folks, mean for us realtors in the room that when we're communicating and we're talking with our colleagues, we probably should not be sharing some of the things we share. Can you believe what my client just did? Can't do that. Right. So please be mindful, right? We're here to help them. Confidentiality is matter. And if you lose that confidentiality, you lost a lot. You lost a lot of common ground. You've lost a lot of connection with your clients. And then you might even want to think about doing some trust building activities, right? I don't mean a role playing or a game event. We're working with clients out here, right? But you could come out there and for an activity, you could, go do coffee with them. Not to go talk business or work, just go have coffee with them. Go for a walk with them. Do whatever, right? You can do certain things and just have those different things out there. It can be very, very simple. Please understand always when you're doing, especially the building trust may happen overnight, but most likely probably will not. So understand that this is a repetitive steps that you're going to have to do. Actually, all 5 principles are very repetitive in nature to continually build that common ground, to build that active listening, to think of others and adding those values, building those trusts, and to focus on them first, right? These are those 5 principles. So with that, we're about at that time, folks. So one of the things I want to do is we're just going to recap real quick. Again, we have the 5 principles: common ground, thinking of others, adding value, building trust, right? And and communicating clearly. Those are the 5 principles that we have in here. Now, I thank you all for being here. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate every single one that's here every Friday at 1:00. Please make sure everybody's here. If you're listening on the podcast, please understand on YouTube and Facebook, I do go live. You get to see it earlier. These usually on the podcast do not come out until Monday. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more about this, reach out to me. I do masterminds on the book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. It's usually about 5 weeks. We do that, and we actually do disc as well. So we cover that. We give you a disc assessment, and we do a lot with that. So please don't hesitate to make sure and sign up if you're interested, or even email me to see when the next sessions are. Always happy to do that. Appreciate your time. Subscribe to YouTube. Watch the video. There'll be now you're all live here, but in the future there'll be a video up here showing you that disc conversation I had a few weeks ago, and go there and listen to it. In the meantime, have a great weekend. We will see you next week.